Greetings. This is Arvat McLean of Speak, the Universe Listens. As a very young person, I always felt that I carried the weight of the world on my shoulders, having to make grown-up decisions in order to survive a life marked with physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. While my face was smiling on the outside, on the inside, I always secretly cried and felt miserable. However, over the years, I learned some gems that helped to turn my life around. I now get to live the life of my dreams, filled with love, travel, and wonderment. And I am absolutely passionate about sharing what I have learned with you. If you want to live your best life, tune in each week as I, along with some amazing guests, share these life-changing gems with you. Inspired to be more, do more, have more. Greetings and welcome to today's episode of Speak, the Universe Listens. Today's topic is change your habits, change your life. And I have joining me Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. It's
Awesome,
good to see
awesome.
you.
Good to see you again.
Yes. So we're going to talk a little bit about habits, changing habits. So are there any habits that you have had to change in your life?
Man, yes, it is. My worst habit that I can say I possibly had was communication. That was one of my big habits, bad communication. So I really needed to work on that aspect of my life. And so how I went about doing that is, since I know that was one of my weaknesses, every day interacting with people, associates, friends, family, the way that I used to go about communicating with them, I'll stop and then I'll catch myself. And I'll be aware, like, you know what, Steve, you need to work on your communication.
So when you say communication, what do you mean specifically?
Just not responding timely.
Okay.
You know, things of that nature. You know, sometimes people may think one thing just because I did not say it.
Right, exactly.
So that's what I mean by communication. But I wanted to talk more on habits. You know, with the habits, I think a lot of us, we want to change our life, or it's something in our life that we really want to switch around. And so with changing our habits, when we are aware of our habits, then I think that is a good thing, because we're able to attack it. We're able to recognize what we need to do in order to change it. So when you recognize what you need to do, then it's like, hey, okay, well, let me go ahead and let me change this aspect of my life.
So let's go back to your habit. You're changing your habit with communication. So what specifically, how did you go about, what happened in your brain in order to make you change? What did you do?
Well, when I recognized my weakness, you know, and that's something I think a lot of us, we're not able to really take responsibility for ourselves. We're not really, we don't want to sit back and say or admit to our weakness in life. So what I did was I just pretty much wrote down, okay, hey, this is my weakness. What do I need to do?
Okay.
So every day, sit back and I jotted something down. I said, okay, well, today I did do this, and then the next day come around, I did this. So then I compare it on the third day. Okay, well, you started from here, and you did this. So pretty much it's step by step. So seeing my progress, and it just made me say, well, okay, eventually now I'm starting to turn things around for myself. But I think when you write things down, it really sort of help you out a lot more.
Yeah, that's kind of deep right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if I've ever been that analytical about it. But I know the worst habit that I had was I was always saying, I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that. And then I wouldn't ever do anything or whatever. And so I literally had to, when I broke that habit, I literally had to just be extremely disciplined with myself. Like, I forced myself to break the habit.
Okay.
And so I was like, if you say I'ma do,
One more time.
then you have to do it, and you can't do anything else
Mhm.
until you do that thing. And so I would literally kind of put myself on punishment, like, you gotta look at the walls. Either you look at the walls or you do the thing. No other option.
Gotcha.
So it was like a brute force yourself to do
Right.
it type of thing. But I do think a lot of times that forcing yourself to break a habit,
Mhm.
it doesn't work.
It doesn't. It really doesn't, because it's something that you really have to take baby steps with, because it's not something that just happens overnight. You know, I really would say a lot of us, we don't really realize that in order for us to get to that next level in our life, we have to think about our habits. So even when things are going good for you, it's a habit that you have. In order for the things for you, in
Right.
order for, if things are going good, it's a habit that follows with that.
Right.
And the same as when things go wrong in your life, and vice versa, it's a habit that follows with that. So you have to sit back and recognize what's not serving you. You know, and when we realize what habits are not serving us, then we can sit back and say, you know what, I got it. I don't want to do this no more.
Right.
So let me get on track over here. And so that's a big part of it. You know, cutting out things in our life, which is something that a lot of us don't want to do because of the attachment that we have to it. And it's not hard. It's only hard if we say that it's hard. But I would say more of the challenge that it gives an individual to sit back and say, you know what, I'm going to take this on. But it's a day-by-day, step-by-step process.
And I think most of our habits we don't even recognize that we have.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. And I think I'm more along the lines of, rather than getting rid of a bad habit,
Right.
to increase a good habit or to put something in place that's better.
Okay.
So to me, it seems like it's harder to break yourself out of something. Or I don't even know. I'm not going to say it's hard. I don't want to put hard
I
or
understand.
easy on something. But like for me, it's easier to focus on what things I do want. So if I know I want to do, if I want to run a marathon,
Right.
then I would have to develop a set of skills or habits, routines
Routine.
that would allow me to get there. Instead of thinking, I got to stop laying around on my butt. I got to make myself stop. Then I can enroll into something that would cause me to do something different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so, like, I often do a lot of events, like sporting activities.
Okay.
And people are saying, like, well, why do you pay to run?
Right.
Because you could just go run by yourself.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could, but I'm not likely to do that.
Okay.
I'm not likely to do that. But if I know I have an event coming up,
Right.
then I'm going to get out every day and I'm going to train for that event. So that's kind of how I'll add a new habit, a new thing to cause myself to develop the skills that I need to do that new thing.
Gotcha. And it's the same with myself over the years and through my journey, trying to develop new habits. And you know, I see myself where I want to be at.
Exactly.
And so since I seen it and I had that vision, then it was like, okay, so you know what you want. So now you just got to put things in place, you know, in order
Right.
for you to get there. But you got to recognize your habits, because even successful people have habits that got them to where they are.
Exactly.
You know, and so when I recognized that, my life just started to change a whole lot. So I think with people in general, I love to see people change their life, but they really have to recognize for themselves what is it that's holding them back. So just making that decision to sit back and say, you know what, boom, I'm gonna cut this off. Because that's all the decision is. You basically, you're just going to cut something out. So what is it that you're going to cut out? So cut out the thing that is not serving you, and then you can be able to develop new habits. And then those habits that are serving you, you'll be like, wow, okay. And you want to keep on going.
Yeah. And I also think that sometimes, and this is a lot of the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
He talks a lot about habits and how habits they can be, they become a part of us. So the reason why we can't just brutally just move through a habit is because we have ingrained that habit in our body. So in other words, we think a certain thought, which causes a certain feeling. And then that feeling causes us to think that same thought. And so it's like a cycle. Like you think the thought that causes a feeling, that feeling causes a thought, and you just get in that same thing, and it becomes ingrained in your body. And so now whenever you feel that feeling, you have to do that thing. And that's how habits form. And so, of course, he's saying in order to change your reality, you have to change your personality. Like you literally have to become a different person. You literally have to retrain your brain to think differently. So, and it's a process of seeing what it is you want, visualizing it, practicing that visualization in your mind over and over again so that your brain starts to reflect that person that you want to be. And it takes practice, like you have to keep doing it. And so he says the hardest thing is making the time to visualize.
That's very true. That's very true. I think a lot of people will sit back and say, you know what, well, I know what I need to do, but I have, work, I have school, I have so many things on my plate, life in general on an everyday basis. So, that's the easy route out, the excuse that we can possibly use. But it's if you take that time to really go deep and just try to, if you really want to change yourself, you make that time for yourself to get into those habits.
I never remember who said it, but I like the quote. And they say something to the effect of, if you don't have enough time. No, they say something to the effect of, I meditate every day for 30 minutes, unless I'm busy. If I'm too busy, then I meditate for an hour a day. So in other words, you need to up it. Like the more your life gets out of control, the more you need to take that time for yourself, meditate, get your mind right, do your visualizations, see yourself as you want yourself to be, and allow
it to just come all together.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's something, it took practice with me with meditating. After I figured out how to meditate and how to go about doing it, the hardest thing for me at that time, I'm not going to say hardest, but, I would say just basically clearing my mind. And so, when you meditate, you have to sit back and nothing has to be in your mind at all. You just completely blank. And I'm like, how did you do that? It's like, how did you go completely blank, not thinking about nothing? But after time, over and over practicing, it didn't matter how long I did it. I could have do it for probably 10 minutes, 30 minutes. But when I kept doing it and developing the habit of doing it, the better I became. And I made sure that it was something that I put into my everyday routine. And so now it's like, I don't even second guess it. It just, it's something that I just do. And so when we get to that point, oh man, it's going to be a beautiful thing. Your habits are just going to sort of change, but you have to continuously keep going at it, keep going at it. And the more you do it, after a while, you're not even going to realize that you're doing it. Just like how we have habits now that we probably don't even recognize, so same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I really would love to see people just get on that wavelength of getting to the point as to where you write down what it is that you really trying to do as far as developing yourself. Actually visualize. That's something that's very important. Visualize where you want to see yourself. And when you visualize where you want to see yourself, then you'll start putting yourself in order as to where you need to be and where you want to be at. And then after a while, everything is just going to start to flow. But first, it starts with the individual, and you got to want to do it.
Yes. Yeah, and like you say, you gotta want it. So if you want something and you know what you want, then you just automatically start lining yourself up And there's be things that you have to do
Yeah.
in order to,
That's
to be
facts.
that, and there be things that'll have to fall away.
Right.
But like I said, and I have been in that place where I've forced myself to do
Yeah.
stuff. But a lot of times forcing doesn't work, and we know that when we think about things like going on diets. You know, how long does how long does that last? And so rather than, I guess the ideal of, you know, I'm gonna change my eating. I'm not gonna eat this, and I'm not gonna eat that, and I'm not gonna eat this. You would focus more on how would I feel as a thin person,
Right.
and then start seeing yourself as a thin person. Start feeling like a thin person.
Right.
The feelings that you think you would feel,
Right.
and the more you start practicing that feeling of a thin person, you start changing your brain to look like a thin person's brain, and you start automatically letting go of certain things, and it's just not going to be of interest to you anymore.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so you just start changing. You just start practicing being that person that you want to be.
And it's just like what you just said. Just pretty much putting yourself, seeing yourself already there before you even have it.
Right.
You know, having that faith in yourself to know that, you know what, bam, I'm gonna get here. I already have it. You know, and you may not physically have it, but just in your mind, your thought process. If your thought process is there, then everything else is gonna flow. So it's all about how you see yourself and what you see. You know? And if you can sit back and take the biggest step, I would say, if anything, is just having that visualization. If you can see it, it can happen. But the problem is, now you see it, you got to put the work into it. So a lot of us, we can visualize it all day long, but if we're not taking the right necessary steps to move forward in that direction, then you're really just going to be at this stagnant destination. So we really need to just put that work in and just make it happen for ourselves. It's possible.
Yeah, and I do believe the work is the visualization. Like, that is the work, and then you just take a step. So a lot of times people, I think we've been taught that things are supposed to be hard, and that, you know, you got to force yourself, and you got to, you know, overcome, and you got to struggle, and if you want change, you know, like or whatever, and that does work.
Right.
To a degree, but if it really worked and we all believe that, then everyone would have what they want, right? So it's a process of changing. How are we believing? What are we believing? Changing that thought.
Right.
And realizing that if I can change how I see myself,
There you go.
then everything else will change. It has to change. It's impossible for you to see yourself a certain way and you don't change in that direction. The brain is going to match things up for you to be exactly how you see yourself, how you feel. So I always say, I know what you're thinking because I can tell by what happens in your world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, hopefully when I think individuals get to that point as to where, okay, they make that decision to sit back and say, you know what, I'm ready to develop new habits. Now they have, I would say, if anything, jot down what it is that you want to work on. And then it's almost like a business plan. That's basically how it is. It's almost like a business plan. When you sit back and you want to open up a business, you sit back and you do a business plan, and then you write down step by step what you're going to do, you know, and just go down that list. And it's the exact same thing with your habits, you know, with your life. You know what you want to do, jot it down. Now, make each step every day, mark it off your list. Okay, I accomplished this today. Okay, next day, you know what, I'm gonna try to accomplish 2 things today, and then just keep, you know, just keep on going like that. And then after a while, it's just you embedded it in yourself already to just do.
You're right, because if you're taking steps, you're sending that message that I know this is about to happen. That's why I'm taking these steps.
Exactly. And then also too, it's just you can tell like with visualization. Prime example, if you sit back and, you know, you were in school, when we was all in school, we always said, I'm going to graduate from school. There wasn't no second guessing that. You knew it. You knew it before you even had it. And Boom, when that time
Right.
came, you walked across that stage,
Right.
you got your paper. So it's like you already see these things, you
Mm-hmm.
know these things. And so, bam, you just make the moves and
Yeah.
make it happen. That's it.
I was listening to a neuroscientist, I think just yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like certain things we know, but
Right.
you know, when a neuroscientist says it, you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
or whatever. But you know, he was saying that one of the ways to change your habits
Mm-hmm.
is to be around people who have the habit that you want.
Mm.
And so, for example, if you want to be a funny person,
Right.
then you need to be around funny people.
Right.
And what happens is the people that you're around, basically our brains are interactive. So it's not
Right.
like my brain is just in my head and your brain is in your head. No, our brains are interacting with each other right now. And so if I'm sitting with you, my brain is becoming like yours. Like we're actually, if they were to do a computer readout on our brains, right now, our brains would be doing very similar things because we're being entrained. Our brains are being entrained together, and so we are thinking more like just because we're in the same vicinity. Yeah,
That's pretty
and
cool.
so if you want to be an entrepreneur,
Right.
then you get in the room with the best entrepreneurs. The
Yeah.
people that you want to be like. You know, if you want to be an athlete, then you get in the room with them,
That's
and your brain will just automatically get entrained
Mm-hmm.
with the people that you're around.
Well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And like you said, we hear that all the time, but people, I don't think they really allow that to register. Like, but it's so true. You know, if you want to sit back and you want to be a certain way, or you want to get to a certain level in your life, then you need to surround yourself with all those aspects of what you're trying to do, or where you're trying to get. And you surround yourself with that, you're good to go.
All right. So thank you so much. I love talking about changing habits because it is our habits, as you say,
Right.
that determines what's showing up in our lives.
Correct.
So if you want to have certain things in your life, you know you have to start doing certain habits. And so there are different ways to go about changing habits. As we say, you can kind of force it, or you can be very analytical and methodical about it, or you can increase your visualization in terms of making yourself feel like the person that you want to be.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
All right. So, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Speak the Universe Listens along with Stephen. And make sure you check out my website at arvatmclean.com. Click the subscribe button below if you have not done so. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Till next time.
Bye-bye.